Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Pratibhanand, Principal from SP College of Pharmacy, Sonipat. Today we are going to discuss about a module evaluation and applications of pulmonary drug delivery under the paper Novel Drug Delivery System Part 1. So the objectives of this particular module are evaluation of pulmonary drug delivery system, and secondly I'll be discussing about applications of pulmonary delivery system. Now coming to the introduction of this particular system. Now the pulmonary drug delivery system offers several advantages over other drug delivery systems and finds its applications in the treatment of number of ailments. Therefore, its efficacy, quality and safety need reliable evaluation methods to test them. Evaluation of pulmonary delivery system. In vitro evaluation. In vitro evaluation involves pulmonary drug absorption studies. Various cell line models are used to study pulmonary drug absorption through cells. First one is alveolar epithelium models. It involves primary alveolar epithelial cell cultures, alveolar epithelial cell lines. Now the first one, primary alveolar epithelial cell cultures. It is composed of alveolar type 1 and type 2 cells. It is useful in studying the transport of macromolecules across the pulmonary barrier. However, due to limited availability, this model is not widely used. Second one is alveolar epithelial cell lines. A549 is derived from human adenocarcinoma and has a morphology analogous to alveolar type 2 cells. It is helpful in predicting the interactions of particles with the cells. It is also helpful in metabolic and toxicological studies. However, it is not useful as a drug delivery model because it does not form stretched monolayer. Some authors have reported that these cell lines can also be used in predicting the mechanism of pulmonary surfactant synthesis. NCI H441. These cell lines are capable of forming tight junctions. They also possess features of alveolar type 2 cells and Clara cells. It is valuable in studying various diffusion mechanisms such as paracellular diffusion and P-glycoprotein mediated support. Another model is tracheobronchial epithelial models. Under this comes primary cell cultures. These cell lines are generally used for drug transport studies. However, they have been reproduced as well as differentiated to produce homogeneous population of a single cell type. Some of the examples of primary cell cultures are: number 1, small airway epithelial cells. This model is commercially available to study the permeability of drug across epithelium cell layer. Second one is normal human bronchial epithelial cells. They provide useful insight on transporter-mediated drug absorption studies, for example, P-glycoprotein-mediated absorption studies. Bronchial epithelial cell lines, BEAS2B. These cells mimic the normal human epithelial cells. It is useful to study the epithelial cell culture, function, metabolism, cytokine regulation and interaction with the cells. Another cell line is NULI1. It has a perspective in active and passive drug transport studies but has limited use. Another cell line is 16HB140. These cell lines are non-serous, non-ciliated phenotypic cell lines obtained by transformation of normal bronchial epithelial cells from 1-year-old lung transplant patient. This cell line shows the presence of several drug transport protein and functional tight junctions, since these cells express a wide range of transporters and are useful in predicting drug absorption and drug epithelial interaction studies. Another cell line is CALU3. It is a human bronchial epithelial cell line derived from lung adenocarcinoma. This cell line has the greatest potential to serve as a model epithelial layer. Numerous efflux and influx transporter mechanisms are functional in CALU3 cells and is therefore used to study transport and metabolism of drugs in human bronchial epithelial cells. Coming to the co-culture models. Co-cultures of different cell lines can be developed to study their respective interactions. For example, triple culture model of alveolar type 2 cells, human blood monocyte derived macrophages and dendritic cells to investigate the interaction of cells with xenobiotics. In another example, a double cell culture model consisting of alveolar macrophage and human bronchial epithelial cell was developed to study the release of inflammatories. Coming to the measurement of deposition of inhaled particles. In order to mimic the deposition mechanism of inhaled particles on the lung airways, various impactors such as twin-stage impinger, multi-stage liquid impinger, Anderson cascade impactor are used. They help in determination of aerodynamic size distribution of aerosol particles. The deposition mechanism of these impactors is impaction and diffusion. Additionally, to accommodate deposition by sedimentation, novel devices have been developed, namely the pharmaceutical aerosol deposition device on cell cultures, that is PADOC, and Cultex system. Coming to the in vivo evaluation. In vivo investigation is an essential step in preclinical studies and helps in determining safe dosage range of formulation. Larger animals such as guinea pigs and rabbits are generally preferred due to ease in blood withdrawal and handling animals. In addition, their airway anatomy is similar to the human beings. The formulation can be administered using the following methods. First method is intratracheal administration. Dry powders can be directly delivered using insufflators or microsyringe. Although it is a simple technique, small alterations can result in differences in site of the drug deposition in lungs and thus in blood circulation. Drug deposition at different sites is assessed by grinding tissue using albumin as a slow diffusing marker. The use of microsyringe resulted in deepest drug deposition within the lungs and maximum bioavailability when instillation was followed by administration of 3 ml air bolus. A spray instillator, on the other hand, gave a more central drug deposition with a lower bioavailability. Intratracheal administration offers advantages such as dose control, lack of drug losses in the instrument, bypass of nasal passage, and targeting different sites within the respiratory tract. Next one is intranasal instillation. Intranasal administration can be used for local delivery to nasal mucosa and pulmonary delivery. The solution is administered with the help of micropipette and the mice is anesthetized and kept vertically before intranasal administration. Small volume of the solution restricts the drug into nasal cavity, whereas the larger volume of the sample results in deeper administration into the lung upper airways. In vivo evaluation under this again a passive inhalation. In this process, the animals are caged in aerosol chambers and this method is generally used for mice and less commonly in larger animals. The drug is ejected using a nebulizer and the concentration of drug in the aerosol is determined by sampling and quantifying the drug in the sample. Depending on the limit of exposure, it is divided into two categories. First one, whole body exposure system. In this method, the animal is caged in a sealed plastic box and the whole body of the animal is exposed to the drug via a nebulizer that is connected to the box. Even though this method is less stressful, a major drawback of this system is potential drug absorption through the skin, ears and GIT. Second one, head only or nose only exposure system. In this, only the head or the nose of the animal is kept in a chamber and it is exposed to the drug. Drug can be delivered to more than one animal. Drug leakage to other unwanted sites such as skin is limited. Lower the amount of drug is needed to generate aerosols due to lower volume of aerosolization chamber. After the drug administration, the blood is withdrawn to determine the pharmacokinetics of the drug formulation. For example, monocrotaline sodium-induced pulmonary hypertension model, the lipopolysaccharide-induced airway inflammation models, acrolein-induced airway inflammation. Coming to the ex vivo studies, ex vivo models provide human physiology as well as organ functionality. The toxic effects of drugs ascertained in ex vivo studies can be filtered out in vivo studies. Therefore, ex vivo approach is an excellent way to minimize the distress on experimental animals. First one is the isolated perfused lung model. In this model, the blood circulation to the lungs is separated from the rest of the body so that the drug can be administered directly to the lungs. This model is helpful in assessing pulmonary drug metabolism, absorption, as well as provides insight on respiratory mechanics. Second one, precision cut lung slices model, PCLS. PCLS are thin slices of viable lung tissues. The lungs can be isolated and cut into slices. These tissue slices can be cultured into viable lung tissues, thus restricting the use of number of animals. It also helps in comparison of different species under same conditions. Precision cut lung slices can be used as a model for respiratory toxicity studies, airway contraction studies, asthma, and immune responses. Precision cut lung slices model offers many advantages such as efficient and cost-effective use of expensive agents, longevity, and simultaneous study of airway and vascular responses. Toxicity assays. Toxicity assays are very essential at the preclinical stage and should be performed to determine the toxicity of formulation. First one, it is MTT assay. MTT assay is a colorimetric measurement used for the investigation of cell toxicity studies and metabolic assay. NADPH enzymes reduce MTT to pharmazone, which has a blue color. The rate of reduction is proportional to the metabolic activity of the cell. Second one, under the toxicity assay is the ATP assay. The assay lyses the cells and reacts chemically with the ATP content of the cells to produce luminescence, and the level of luminescence is an indication of number of viable cells. Third assay under toxicity is the neutral red uptake assay. In this, the neutral red is a cationic dye which penetrates the cellular membranes and imparts red color. Only viable cells have the ability to take up the dye. Clinical applications of pulmonary drug delivery. Under this comes its application in asthma and COPD. Asthma and COPD are pulmonary diseases identified by inflammation and constriction of airways. Asthma is characterized by symptoms such as shortness of the breath, wheezing, coughing, chest tightness or pain. Therefore, it necessitates the delivery of medications directly to the lungs. FDA has approved many inhalers for the treatment of asthma and COPD, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and examples are Ventolin, Symbicort, Atrovent, Dulera, and Elvesco. Cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is commonly occurring inherited disorder caused by the presence of faulty genes causing mucus buildup in the lungs, pancreas, and intestine. The symptoms include cough, salty tasting skin, serious and frequent lung infections like pneumonia, bronchitis, and shortness of the breath. Various aerosol-based formulations have been approved by Food, Drug and Administration for the treatment of cystic fibrosis like Caiston, Ventavez, Tyvaso, and Toby-Podhaler. Now the third application is in diabetes. Diabetes is a commonly occurring disease caused by the deficiency of insulin release or its secretion. The possibility to deliver the insulin via pulmonary route has become a boon to the diabetic therapy, primarily because the only available treatment is the twice daily subcutaneous injection of insulin, which is very painful and very often results patient non-compliance. Thus, pulmonary delivery is an effective route to deliver insulin as it avoids the painful procedure and bypass the protease activity otherwise subjected via oral route. Excubera formulation of insulin was developed by Pfizer. However, due to increased cost, the product was discontinued. In continuation to strive for insulin delivery, mankind has formulated Afrezza, which is currently in phase 3 clinical trials. Another one is the migraine. Pulmonary route can also be used to treat the migraine. Medihaler ergotamine is an aerosol-based device containing ergotamine tartrate. Its application in pneumonia. Cardes Pharma has recently developed synergistic combination of amikacin and fosfomycin inhalation system for the treatment of multi-drug resistant bacterial infections. It is currently enrolled for phase 2 studies A similar formulation known as amikacin inhale has been under development by Bayer as an adjunctive treatment of pneumonia. Nebupent, containing pentamidine isethionate, is a marketed formulation administered by inhalation via a nebulizer and is used for the treatment of Pneumocystis carinii pneumonia. Another one is emphysema. Emphysema is a chronic respiratory disorder caused by alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. A new inhalation device of alpha-1 antitrypsin protein for the treatment of emphysema is under development of Bayer. Angina pectoris is characterized by chest pain and the symptoms seen in the case of ischemia of the heart muscles, which is caused due to imbalance of demand and supply of oxygen to the cardiac muscles. Sublingual nitroglycerin and isosorbide dinitrate are the drugs of choice for treating angina pectoris. However, aerosol-based treatment of angina have also gained importance, and the examples are Angitech, containing isosorbide dinitrate aerosol, has been very well accepted for the treatment of angina pectoris in USA. Another one is pulmonary arterial hypertension. This disease results in narrowing of pulmonary arteries, the arteries which are going to supply the blood to the lungs, resulting in high blood pressure. In 2004, FDA approved Ventavis, which is an inhalational system used for the treatment of pulmonary arterial hypertension. Its application in lung cancer. Among various cancers, lung cancer causes maximum number of deaths. Aerosol sprays of 5-fluorouracil and difluoromethyl ornithine have reduced lung tumors in mice by 60 and 50% respectively. Pseudomonas aeruginosa infections. Nano-GANT gentamicin sulfate again is an inhalation powder developed for the treatment of Pseudomonas infection. Another one is nicotine aerosol. It is very difficult for addicted person to stop the cigarette smoking because of nicotine addiction. Nicotine aerosol devices have been developed which delivers comparatively reduced nicotine for smoke cessation. Another one is bone disorders. Bone disorders such as osteoporosis and Paget's diseases can be treated by pulmonary delivery as it is safe option and very well tolerated. For example, Forticol, Miacalm, nasal spray containing calcitonin and parathyroid hormone inhalers. In continuation to the applications, its application in tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a bacterial infection caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and most commonly it affects the lungs. Delivery of anti-tubercular drugs through pulmonary route is therefore a promising area because of painless delivery and evasion of first pass effect. However, merely aerosolizing drugs is not sufficient due to lack of macrophage targeting. Therefore, effective delivery necessitates the use of particulate delivery systems. Oral liposomal inhalation formulations of rifampicin and pyrazinamide have shown promising results and is currently undergoing phase 1 clinical trials. Next one is antifungal formulations. Immunocompromised patients are more prone to pulmonary fungal infections due to unavoidable systemic toxicities associated with antifungal oral medications. Pulmonary delivery has been gaining increasing attention. Some of the examples of lipid-based inhalable amphotericin B formulations are Fungizone containing deoxycholate formulation, Ambisome containing a liposome-based formulation, Abilict and Amphotech again a lipid-based formulation. Now coming to the pulmonary delivery of opioids, studies have shown that administration of opioids via the pulmonary route is safe and non-invasive as it avoids the pain associated with the injection of painkillers. For example, inhalation formulations of morphine and fentanyl are being investigated for the management of pain. So these formulations have shown rapid and complete absorption in the systemic circulation, thereby proving efficient in management of severe pains. Next one is inhalable vaccines. Most vaccines are available in the past for treating respiratory diseases are injectables and therefore painful for infants and children. However, recently inhalable vaccines are gaining wide interest from clinical perspective, providing a non-invasive route for vaccination. For example, the live attenuated influenza vaccine, aerosol measles vaccine, and inhaled TB vaccine. Another application in pulmonary gene delivery. It has gained increasing attention over the years. Delivery of the nucleic acids such as DNA, siRNA to the lungs plays a prominent role in the treatment of genetic and chronic lung disorders. An additional barrier that has to be overcome for effective delivery is the translocation of DNA to cell nucleus and siRNA to the cytosol. Next one, diagnostic imaging. Recent studies have shown that pulmonary route can also be used for diagnostic imaging studies. Iodinated nanoparticles can be inserted intrabronchially for lung imaging. Similarly, technetium-labeled microparticles can be used for diagnostic purposes. Now coming to antiviral, Virazole containing ribavirin is used in the treatment of lung infection caused by respiratory syncytial virus (RSV) in infants and children. Relenza is approved for use in US for symptomatic relief in influenza patients. It comprises of zanamivir dispensed in Disc-Haler, which is a new generation low-resistance inhalation device. A similar formulation known as Inavir comprising leninamirv octanoate has been approved for use in Japan. Next one, pulmonary embolism. Heparin is usually injected by either subcutaneous or intravenous route to treat pulmonary embolism. Administration of low molecular weight heparin directly through pulmonary route would directly administer the drug non-invasively to the lungs for the treatment of pulmonary embolism and deep vein thrombosis. So students, let us summarize what we have learnt in this particular module. The safety, efficacy and quality of the drug formulations can be estimated by various evaluation parameters. The better understanding of the product testing can lead to the successful development of pulmonary drug delivery system. Thank you.